Guys, welcome to another this week's edition of Warwick Radio Chats. Always joined by my brother, Mr. IOTBA, Corey Bradshaw. Corey, how are you doing, my friend?
Man, shout out to everybody, man, on Warwick Radio, man. We really appreciate you guys tuning in to all these videos. If you ain't subscribe, please subscribe, like, comment, leave your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Shout out to my guy Joseph here, one of the greats doing. And hold on, I messed up. Shout out to everybody on here from that 214 to across the pond. Hold up. Shout out to Lee Cleveland too, a Fight Saga.
Guys, and as usual, all of these episodes on Warwick Radio Network, they're brought to you by thefightsaga.com. Guys, for all latest boxing news, please go frequent and bookmark fightsaga.com, your centralized hub for all the major boxing news wires, all linked into one website, fightsaga.com. Go frequent it. You'll also get to check out all the exclusive content from myself, Lee Cleveland, as well as our brother, Corey Bradshaw. But guys, in case you've been under a rock, let's bring you up to speed. It was announced on Sunday that by Tyson Fury that we were going to get, he made this entire video that said this: got some massive news for you guys. I've just got off the phone with Prince Khalid of Saudi Arabia. He told me this fight is 100% on. August 14th, 2021, summertime. All eyes on the world will be on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I cannot wait. Repeat, cannot wait to smash Anthony Joshua on the biggest stage of all time. This is going to be the sporting event to grace the planet Earth. Do not miss it. All eyes on us. Peace out. God bless. See you in Saudi. And yeah, the big stupid face. And yeah. Well, just a day later, it was ruled by former judge, retired judge, and arbitrator Daniel Weinstein, a retired judge with a vast experience in boxing cases. He ruled, regardless of what Bob Arum was telling everyone in the business, including Eddie Hearn and his client Tyson Fury, the retired judge ruled in favor of former titleist Deontay Wilder in his action against Fury in an effort to force a third fight. He believed he was owed under the terms of their deal for a rematch that took place on February 22nd, 2020. So, guys, going back and looking at what the judge ruled, and he looked at a precedent, a former court case in which incumbent champion Asim Rahman tried to get out of his immediate rematch clause. He attempted to avoid the fight with a rematch with Lennox Lewis and tried to make more money, just like this, in a much more lucrative fight against Mike Tyson. Well, Lewis sued Rahman in New York and forced an immediate rematch, which resulted in Rahman getting KTFO'd in the fourth round, right? So that's what Weinstein stated when he was giving his ruling. He said, I quote, I find that Wilder, like Lennox Lewis, would be irreparably harmed if Wilder were denied the opportunity to regain the championship. So he stated that, so he ruled that Tyson Fury has to fight Deontay Wilder by September 15th. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's funny when you look at he has to fight Deontay Wilder, but in his interpretation, he says Wilder would be irreparably harmed if he were denied the opportunity to regain the championship. So which one is it? Is he trying to just become the WBC champion again? Or is he most interested in getting his ring retribution against the man who embarrassed him in February of 2020? Well, according to comments made by new trainer Malik Scott, apparently Wilder has no interest in the WBC or any step-aside money. He merely wants his pound of flesh in the ring against Tyson Fury. And Malik Scott stated this, quote, Wilder declined and has no interest in step-aside money. Y'all dealing with a whole different type of mother over here. He want the blood, not the step-aside money. Retribution is upon us, end quote. Okay, well, this is the last comment I'm going to read. This is, well, what Tyson Fury had to say. Quote, because apparently Team Fury asked him if he'd be interested in stepping aside, offered him a small step-aside sum, and said, you know what, we'll guarantee you, and we'll write it in the contract, that you will be able to not only have this step-aside money for waiting, but you'll be in line to face the winner, either Fury or AJ, later this year. Well, apparently, Team Wilder, it's been reported that he asked for $20 million to step aside, which basically means that he's not interested and priced himself out. He's not interested in that. So this is what Tyson Fury had to say. Quote, what a joke Deontay Wilder has become. Asked for $20 million to move over. Joker. Looks like I'll have to crack his skull again. End quote. So, guys, it seems inevitable. And once again, you look at the options, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking, well, what's to stop Fury and AJ from following through with their fight in Saudi Arabia on August 15th? It is, after all, before the proposed deadline from the arbitrator of September 15th. What's to stop Tyson Fury from facing Anthony Joshua and immediately after the fight saying he tore his rotator cuff or faked some kind of injury and said, I'm going to be out for an entire year? Well, here's the reason why no party involved wants to go through with that. If you don't honor your contracts in this business, no one's going to want to work with you. And it would be in Tyson Fury's best interest not to renege on any contract from this point forward. He's already shown history of doing this. No one's going to want to work with him after this if he does it again. He already faked retirement for almost 2 years, and he didn't honor the rematch clause that Wilder or that Vladimir Klitschko had several years ago. Vladimir Klitschko has already publicly stated that he's currently still waiting for that rematch with Tyson Fury. So it's in Tyson Fury's best interest not to do this again. And obviously he can't just ditch the WBC title because according to Eddie Hearn and AJ, that's the only reason why they're interested in this. They want the very first undisputed unification bout in the history of the four-belt era in the heavyweight division. So, guys, that leaves us with just one choice, basically. It looks like we're going to see Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3, more than likely on July 24th at the Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas, Nevada. Corey, what are your thoughts on all of this, brother? And before I start ranting and before I start letting people have it as to who's to blame for this entire debacle, what are your thoughts on all of this? And, brother, don't hold anything back.
Man, I just think it's just like a Category 5 storm that just came through and messed up, that just made a huge explosion and did a lot of damage to boxing. But that's neither here nor there. We know what's going on now. We know that the arbitrator ruled in favor of Deontay Wilder, and we understand when arbitration is going through, and if the arbitrator rules in favor of you, 9 times out of 10, the judge will see it the same way. Not saying that it's automatic, but 9 times out of 10, the judge who sees that case will see it the same way. So I don't want to speak on that. I just want to speak on congratulations to Deontay Wilder and his team for putting up a violent effort and getting this done. Because I'm not gonna lie to you guys here on War Week Radio. I didn't think there was no chance in hell that Deontay Wilder was gonna be able to get this fight. But salute to him and his team. But Joseph, you made an excellent point about how Malik Scott came out and said, "Oh, we're not taking no 20 million. We want retribution." You know, and how then Tyson Fury came out and said, "I'm not offering Deontay Wilder no 20 million. We're gonna fight." You know, so it's like I don't know who to believe in that situation, but I'm gonna say the one who make themselves more believable is Tyson Fury, because it was videos out of Tyson Fury clearly stating he wanted to get this fight on. He didn't want to take no step aside money. But if it's true that Wilder and his team does feel like that and they do want retribution, it's not about the WBC belt. It's about him having the opportunity to get in the ring and face the man who beat his face in like it was a pinata, on a Sunday afternoon in a park. So I give him credit for that. If that's the case, Joseph, I like that coming from Deontay Wilder. It shows me that this man really has it in him. If that's true, that they saying we ain't asking for no step aside money. I like that.
Well, I tell you what, this entire time, Wilder and his team have been talking about, hey, you need to honor the contract. You need to be honorable in this situation. One of the huge factors that has people completely disgruntled and is, well, quickly making Deontay Wilder probably the most hated fighter in boxing is because he knows nothing of honor. He hasn't been honorable through this entire process, making excuses about his first professional loss. He's blaming everyone but the person that he should, and that's the man in the mirror. That's the exception that everyone has. In terms of from a business perspective, though, there's only one man to blame for this. And, I've been in this gentleman's corner since I started in the business because he has proven to be the most effective and the most proficient promoter in all of boxing. Creating the stars, having the farm system, having the matchmakers to actually develop the best fighters in boxing. And that's Bob Arum. Make no mistake about this, guys. He is to blame for all of this. Okay, the only reason why we thought, everyone in the industry thought that it was a foregone conclusion that we were going to see AJ versus Fury and finally an undisputed unification with all 4 titles on the line is because Bob Arum said, there's no chance in hell, guys, that Deontay Wilder has no right of recourse. It's an expired contract. So we bid it. We bought it hook, line, and sinker.
We did.
Right?
We did.
This is such an embarrassment. And look, Eddie Hearn had this to say in a press conference early this morning. He said this: I've been focusing on plan A. The only fight that we had on our mind was Tyson Fury. And we hope that fight can still take place August 14th. The game changed, though, Monday night. Well, we have to have a plan B in place now, and probably a plan C as well. We have a couple different options, of course. The one that springs to mind immediately is the WBO mandatory of Alexander Usyk. They've been quite patient. I'm giving Team Fury 1 week to get their act together. And if they haven't resolved anything or worked anything out with Team Wilder, we're forced to move on, end quote. Look, and you can't blame him. He is completely Eddie Hearn, right? Like him or not, he is a very respected guy in the industry because he honors contracts and he's a team player. He does what's best for the sport as well as what's best for his entire roster of fighters. He's a very honorable guy and everyone loves to work with him as a result. So this is really embarrassing to Eddie Hearn. And I know right now what he's thinking. He's thinking the same exact thing that I'm thinking and everyone else in the industry is thinking. Okay? They're thinking that perhaps it's time at almost age 90. Bob Arum, this isn't the first gaffe that you've made or the major blunder that you've made over the past 2 years. You need to step down. Retire from the sport of boxing and hand over the reins to the competent people that you hired and trained underneath you over the last several decades. Todd DeBuff and Bruce Trampler, Brad Goodman, your chief matchmaker, Carl Moretti, you're in good hands over there. Step down, because now you're causing more harm than you are something positive. This is all because of Bob Arum, guys. Look, look, I understand why he did this, right? Because even if you wanted to honor the contract and put together Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, where would you put it during a pandemic? The second event lost money. You would need a huge gate to try and, well, make up for the disappointing pay-per-view numbers. Right?
Yep.
You could have already staged this, right? And I understand why. I understand why he was waiting, because he's like, well, where are you going to put this thing? No place is open. And to his defense, venues didn't start opening up until what, May? Or I'm sorry, April? Was it April? Right? March or April, venues didn't start opening up. Our first massive event since the pandemic hit was Canelo versus Saunders in Texas, and that was just 2 weeks ago, right? So to his defense, I understand why he was trying to make something happen in the interim, but he went about it the very, very wrong way. So now Team Fury, Eddie Hearn, everyone is sitting around with egg on their face, and it's all because of Bob Arum. Bob, it's time, buddy. You had a great run for 60 years, but it's time. You need to step down, brother. You need to step down, because this is an embarrassment to everyone around you. Your thoughts on this, correct?
Yeah, you definitely 100% correct, Joseph. Another excellent statement, man. I got to give you a hand clap for that. You know, that totally slipped my mind, Joseph, how Bob Arum totally freaking manipulated everybody from the 214 to across the pond. He said there's no way that Wilder's going to win this, or there's going to get that. It's guaranteed that Tyson Fury, and then he totally manipulated us from the beginning. Because if there was any truth about what Bob Arum was spewing to us in the many videos and conference calls that he did, then this arbitration wouldn't have went Deontay Wilder's way. Bob Arum has to be ridiculously out of his mind right now. And you make a great point. It's time for people to take caution at Bob Arum. This man is 90 years old, right? And respect to him. Respect him. He lived a beautiful life. He done did great things in the sport of boxing. Like, you got to mention Bob Arum, top 5 promoter of all time. But it seems to me, the way he totally dropped the ball on this, to fool and manipulate the public around to make us believe, because you had a lot of media out here taking in what Bob Arum was saying. And we were saying, like, the contract is over, because Bob Arum was stern about.
He's a Harvard attorney.
Yeah, he was stern, Joseph, about how he was feeding that information to everybody around the world. So we believed him, because this is Bob Arum. This is a guy who we know tried to make matchups. I mean, not tried to make matchups, done made huge matchups in his career. So for this guy to totally manipulate us like this after his career tells us that he done put on big fights, you know, it's time to see if this guy at the age of 90 years old is incompetent to be the leader of Top Rank going forward.
I hate to say this, because there's a saying among the boxing business, right? Boxing, everyone in the industry. When in doubt, bet on Bob. Because Bob has always been the guy who's come through with the big events. Always.
Yeah.
He's always been the promoter who's always cultivated the big stars of boxing, whether they leave him or not. He's always had the infrastructure in place to cultivate the biggest stars of boxing. Well, things have changed. Bob, you've become an embarrassment, brother. I mean, look at the way he's treated Terrence Crawford's career. Look at the way, I mean, just go down the line this past year. It's been an embarrassment. He is the last major promoter to start staging events in front of big crowds, right? Because of his, I don't know, maybe he's smoking too much ganja. Who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe he's eating too many of those pot gummy bears. Who knows?
Hey, but you know what, Joseph? I can't put this solely on him because even look, the arbitrator ruled in Deontay Wilder favor. You know, Bob do deserve a lot of blame for this, but also we need to aim some blame at Deontay Wilder. Like, dude, if you knew this was the case, if you knew that you was gonna win this hands down, which you did, congratulations. Why when Tyson Fury and Bob Arum were trying, because Joseph, let's not forget, they were trying to make the fight.
Stop for a second, Correa. The only thing Deontay Wilder has to blame in any of this, and I'm going to get this. This is the second part of my diatribe here, right? Is once again the terrible excuses, the way he's handled his first professional loss. Yes, I know it was embarrassing to him, but you know what? Suck it up, brother. It's part of being a fighter. You win some, you lose some. A real champion doesn't blame anyone else but himself. He looks internally and he says, what could we have changed? What could we have done differently? Not this ridiculous glove gate. These excuses of tampered water, having an egg weight inside your glove. It's nonsense. And also, unfortunately, Correa, if this fight does come to fruition, and I'm going to explain this in a little bit, because it's not an easy fight to make financially. Right? This is not going to be an easy fight to make financially because of the lack of mainstream demand now. Look, Fox and ESPN did a tremendous job promoting the second event, the rematch. It became a huge blockbuster mainstream event. It had so much sizzle by the time it actually came to a head in February of 2020. This event, there's only a fraction of the interest, and both fighters are still going to want to make the same kind of money. This is a big problem in trying to organize this event. But this is what I would be worried about if I were Team Fury, and I'm shocked that this wasn't brought up in the arbitration. Because of the way Wilder has handled this event, and because he's consistently been racially driven, right? To this day. Get the heck out of here, man. All right, so I'm sad. It saddens me to say this, but this is going to be the most the biggest racial rivalry in boxing since Holmes versus Cooney in 1982. It's terrible. It's terrible how this is escalated, and it's an embarrassment to the sport. No wonder no mainstream sponsors want to touch us with a 10-foot pole. And boxers wonder why we can't get the same sponsorship that basketball or football or baseball gets on a regular basis year after year. It's because of this crap. And if I were Team Fury, I wouldn't want to go through with this event because of how insane and delusional Wilder's cult followers have become. Don't be surprised if someone tries to shoot him or stab him at a media event. Dude, I'm not laughing about this. I'm not joking. This is serious. I'm being dead serious.
I believe you, though. They're insane, bro. I agree with you.
They're certifiable. They're insane. And if I were Tyson Fury, that's the first thing I'd be concerned about. Because when you hear these guys in interviews, they're truly convinced that Tyson Fury cheated. And it's all because of Deontay Wilder's bullshit. It has nothing to do with any evidence or anything factual. But for some reason, these guys are convinced that Fury cheated and they want him to pay. Don't be surprised at one of these media events if one of his loons, right? One of his goons tries to do something to hurt Tyson Fury before the fight. And to be honest with you, that's what I would be concerned with.
No, no, I'm with you, Joseph. And you know what? You make, bro. That's why I tell people, bro, you are one of the best. When it comes to analogies, bro, it ain't nobody better than you. The way you broke down of how Jerry Cooney and Larry Holmes was racially motivated. This right here, it seemed like it's even a worst case scenario than that because the cult following, these guys will say anything. When I talk about these bronze bombians who follow Deontay Wilder, they will say anything. And I'm with you on that. You know, I'm laughing, but I'm laughing because I'm thinking the same way you thinking. The way these guys talk in interviews, the way these guys treated this entire situation. Like, think about it, everybody. I want y'all to really ponder y'all head on this situation. If there was any foul play, the Nevada Athletic State Commission would have brought up to us, everybody around the world, that it was foul play. If Wilder really believed that Tyson Fury cheated out of all these malicious allegations he made at him, he would have filed a criminal lawsuit to file charges to bring
Well,
a
look,
suit
look.
against Tyson Fury.
Here's proof of this. Here's proof of this. What happened when he had legitimate grievance concerning his contract? Okay, he got it settled in mediation and arbitration. He went through the proper channels. Why isn't he doing the same thing with his grievance with foul play before and after the fight, before, during, and after the fight? Why isn't he? Because he has no evidence. He has no proof because it's poppycock. It's all rubbish. Like because I've been in the locker room and I understand protocol and I've been part of fighters camps, right? Doing PR for these guys. I could tell you exactly what protocol is, and I could shoot down any argument that these bozos have. Like, here's one, and this is funny. This is shocking that most people don't know, right? That is still floating around. And they're talking about, okay, well, if there wasn't any foul play, then how come they put a towel over the cameras before the fight in the locker room? Guys, that's standard. That's that's something that every camp does in a major fight, right? And I'll tell you why. Now, keep in mind at the time when they put the towels over the cameras, right? When did they do it? It wasn't while he was getting his hands taped up. It wasn't while he was putting his gloves on. It was as soon as he was starting to warm up. Then you see Javen Sugarhill go over and put a towel over the camera, and that's standard. Do you know why trainers and fighters will have someone from their team cover up the cameras before a fight while they're warming up, working the pads? Because they're working on the combinations that they're going to use in the fight, and they don't want the other team to see it. It's simple. There's no foul play. Everyone does it. And if you have any experience being in the locker room, you understand that that's the case. And once again, that's common knowledge if you're in the industry. But these bozos are not in the industry. They haven't done any research. It's like, dude, they believe it. It's almost like they're like cult followers. And that's why I compared these guys to Scientologists, believing all of this science fiction and fairy tales made by L. Ron Hubbard. And they believe it. Okay, that's in essence what's happening here, guys. All of these delusional racist fans, they listen to all of this rubbish from their king of Wakanda. And they believe it. And it's going to get someone hurt. Watch this. When they have the very first big press event, you're going to see a lot of Wilder fans get into fights at some of these events with a lot of sane members of the boxing community. It's just going to turn into a huge race rivalry, and it's bad for the sport. Bad for the sport. Your final thoughts on this before we move on, sir?
No, I totally agree with you. But Tyson Fury and his team ain't to be played with. You know, so why them Wilder people may think them gypsies ain't no joke. So I advise we don't want no violence, but I advise these cut followings of Deontay Wilder who butt hurt because he lost 17 out of 19 rounds to this man. Y'all better come there cool, because I'm gonna tell you like this, Joseph. I'm gonna forever remember this clip. I remember when Wilder team tried to get tough with him in that second fight, right? And during a press conference, Tyson Fury took off his shirt. He started
Yep.
barking like a dog, Joseph. He started barking like a dog hitting his chest. They tell me that's one crazy lunatic not to mess with.
Yeah, look. At the end of the day, they're prize fighters, right? It takes a very quote unquote special type of person to get in the ring and get blows to the head and to the body and to enjoy it, right? These guys are fighters. There's and anyone who's been in the industry understands, as good as these people are, and as great of friends as they've become to me, they know it, and they'll be the first to admit it. They're not right in the head, guys. Yeah, but look. Besides the point, though, this is going to be a very difficult fight to make. Very difficult fight to materialize, because Deontay Wilder is coming off of his biggest payday, career payday, right? $25 million he made to get his ass beaten for 7 rounds, right? Even at 40% of the purse, if he still thinks he's going to make 20 million in this event, boy, he's living in fantasy land, because this fight isn't even worth 20 million right now. There is very little interest in this. Deontay Wilder, once again, I hope he embraces the black hat, because he's become one of the most hated fighters in boxing. Not only because of how he treated his first loss and all the excuses he came up with, but now, through no fault of his, he's seemingly obstructing the heavyweight division's first undisputed fight with all 4 titles on the line. It's never happened, guys. In the 4-belt era, it's never happened. Not with Vladimir Klitschko, not with Anthony Joshua. It's never happened. Okay, so and once again, that's not Wilder's fault that he's going to be viewed as the obstructionist, but that's the way it's going to appear to everybody. So no one wants to see him fight Tyson Fury a 3rd time. And because of the way the second fight ended, everyone is convinced in the mainstream and casual audiences that this is a foregone conclusion. The only people who believe Wilder will defeat Tyson Fury after 2 attempts and not being able to beat him, the only people believe that he'll finally get lucky a 3rd time, are his band of loony Wilderettes. That's it. No one believes that this is even going to be competitive, Corey. So why on earth is Deontay Wilder? Why is he going through with this? Because he can. And once again, this is the folly now of making 2-fight agreements. This is a very bad thing for boxing. Never, because you never know how that first fight is going to turn out. And you never know if there's going to be a greater demand for the 3rd, right? Or the second fight, the rematch. And right now, there is absolutely no demand for this. Your thoughts on this, brother?
No, I agree with you 100%. And the thing is why, it's so disgusting for Wilder, as a fighter who say he represent boxing. This is a guy who had a lot of bravado and said he was about the sport. How can you be about the sport when you're ruining this undisputed matchup that millions of boxing fans wanted to see? And this is my thing right here, Deontay Wilder. Why'd you let it play out this long? And I understand the promoters wanted to make some money, but we could say what we want to say about Bob Arum. I seen him and Tyson Fury on videos saying, let's make this fight. Wilder is the holdup. Whoopty, this and that and that. So my thing is, people need to, like you say, when Deontay Wilder look at himself in the future, history is not going to treat him well when it comes back to this situation. And I agree with you 100%, Joseph. Nobody wants to see this fight. Like, dude, like out of 19 rounds, and this is fact. This ain't me giving you my opinion, or this ain't me having no feeling into it because I think Wilder is disgusting to the sport of boxing. This is facts. 17 out of 19 rounds, he lost against Tyson Fury in 2 rounds. The second fight, it wasn't even close, not from the start of round 1. So for him to be this despicable, history not going to treat him well, Joe.
Well, one thing that gives your sentiment credence is how he's treated this entire thing. If he were humble and understood that it was his deficiencies that caused the loss, if he were humble and actually admitted that and said, you know what, I need to work on a lot and I'll come back stronger. If he had that humble mentality, then I would say, you know what, we might be in for another good fight. But the fact that he's been blaming everyone and thinks that he didn't do anything wrong or that he wasn't deficient in any area leads everyone with a brain to believe that nothing's going to change. He's going to come in emotionally revved up once again, and he's going to get taken to school by the much smarter fighter. Look, that's the only way any logical boxing guy could view this, right? So Muhammad, thank you for joining us, Muhammad. God bless you, brother, for staying in with us. And he states this: actually, I'm convinced that Fury versus Wilder will sell because of all the controversy and the scores to settle. Wilder's fans will want revenge, while Fury's fans are looking to shut up Wilder for good. That is a very logical statement, and I commend you, and that makes a lot of sense. But here's why. And because of my knowledge of the business of boxing, here's why it's not going to sell as well or be as popular, right? It's not going to create the same kind of buzz. The only reason why the second event had that kind of buzz attached to it, because of the huge promotional campaign by Fox and ESPN for the second fight. They spent millions of dollars promoting this with spots on the Super Bowl, with interviews during the bowl, the college bowl games. This was a huge media campaign on mainstream Fox and mainstream ESPN. It's not going to have the same treatment because the second fight lost money. They're not going to be willing, neither network's going to be willing to spend nearly as much money to promote this event this time. So you're going to see this maybe get about 300,000 or 400,000 pay-per-view buys. That's it. And I'm being nice. Because once again, this goes back to the biggest dilemma that the business of boxing is enduring at this time. And the whole reason why Eddie Hearn was working so hard to get a huge site fee from Saudi Arabia, because no one in the business, including the networks, have any confidence that any fans are going to purchase this rather than streaming it illegally. That's the biggest dilemma that boxing faces, in the business of boxing, rather, right? Boxing has a ton of problems, right? And in my opinion, this is the biggest one. It affects everything. It's the entire reason why you don't consistently see the best fight the best, because no one is financially supporting these events, at least no boxing diehards. Once again, I can't stress the importance and the reasoning why Eddie Hearn was working so hard to get that massive site fee from Saudi Arabia, because he had no confidence that anyone in the States or anyone worldwide were going to purchase it via pay-per-view. Right? That's
that's
why.
and you know what, Joseph? That's a big blow to Eddie Hearn too. Like this is like a direct spit in his face. Like Top
Yep.
Rank, it's like he
This is an
really got thrown under the
embarrassment.
bus.
Yep. And if I were Eddie Hearn, I would be very reluctant to work with Top Rank ever again.
And that was just what I was going to ask you. Do you think he would ever, like, I ain't going to say ever, but how do Top Rank amend this relationship? Because obviously throwing Eddie Hearn up under the bus and embarrassing him like this to everybody around the world. Because like I said, Bob Arum, he manipulated us to make us believe. He said, there's no way in hell that this fight is not going to happen with Joshua and Fury. And he lied to us. So I just feel, I feel bad for Eddie Hearn right now. Like he took a enormous blow.
Yeah, you know what? And I really feel for Eddie Hearn. He is the hardest working man in boxing. He is all over the world trying to put together events, and he's a good, honorable guy. And he is a straight shooter. In just everyone that has worked with Eddie Hearn that I've spoken to, including Canelo, right? Including Eddie Reynoso, they insist that he is very forthcoming and he's very transparent. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And if you're worried about the money, he will actually break everything. Like I've known fighters that have worked with him, and they said that he works with you and he shows you exactly how the money is dispersed so you don't feel that you're getting ripped off. He's a good guy and a genuine asset for the sport of boxing. He still has a lot of growing pains he needs to work through in the U.S. market, but he is a credit to the sport, and he's the hardest working guy in the business. Very quickly, man, I don't want to let this go unrecognized, but this was off topic, so I didn't want to address it until now. And let's give a shout out to our brother Peter, man, for joining us. He says he's still sad about his guy from Tijuana getting KO'd. I knew it was going to happen, though. He has no defense and looks like he can't make weight. Chingao. Brother, I feel your pain, and I'll give you another chingao for it, man, because I actually thought Neri was going to be the classier fighter. And you know what? Unfortunately, Luis Neri, La Pantera, he's not built for the 122-pound weight division. He is a natural 15 and 18 pounder. He has great power at super flyweight and at bantamweight. If he wants to proceed at the championship level, he's not going to be able to compete with guys who are the size of Akhmadaliev. He's not going to be able to compete with the guys like Daniel Roman or Stephen Fulton or Brandon Figueroa. They're just too big for him. And I understand why he wanted to move up because, boy, 18's a packed division too, with a lot of guys who can crack also. But if he wants any future at the championship level, he has to move back down to 118. And like you said, you knew it was going to happen. Honestly, I was a lot more hopeful than you.
Me too. Me too.
But I tell you what, though, he's a warrior, man. He's a warrior, brother. And, you know, for the first 3 rounds, he was having his way with Brandon Figueroa, doing the much better work on the inside, getting the better of the exchanges. But unfortunately, Brandon Figueroa kept on applying that pressure and kept on, working at a more rapid pace than he's grown accustomed to doing. So I tell you what, though, man, credit to La Pantera for taking it like a man instead of acting like Deontay Wilder. Yeah. You know, he didn't blame anyone for his loss. He just said the better man won that night. And, you know, he just needs to work harder and come back stronger and do it at 118 pounds, not 122. So thank you for your comment, brother. I really appreciate it, my friend. But I tell you what, before
I understand why he went to 122, though. It's more money because, you know, with these lower weight classes, it's not that much money. And it's more names up there.
Well, here's the real reason why he moved up to 22, and that's because of a guy named Inoue, right? Does anyone at 118 want to fight the monster? Good Lord, that guy is a destroyer. That guy has freakish power, and he's got just crazy reflexes. So let's go to another
Now, hold
someone
on,
who's
Joseph.
joining us.
You
Go
just
ahead,
brought him
sir.
up, and I promise I'm not trying to get off topic. I just want to know your opinion on this. How do you feel that he would do in the future, moving up to 122?
Oh, Inoue?
Yes.
You know what, brother? He's going to be a problem for anyone at 18 and 22. Now, 22 is a much bigger division. That's a difference of 4 pounds. And when you're talking about now, if this were the era of same day weigh-ins, I would say he has no problem. But now you're talking about an era where guys can balloon up after the weigh-in. That's a totally different animal. I think he has good success if he wants to move up at 22, but why? If you're still able to make 18 comfortably, stay at 18, dude, because you are the absolute beast of the division and a monster for anyone. Now, let's go to JD's comment. Says, what are y'all's thoughts on Teofimo calling out Ryo? Oh, he was on the undercard of last week's PBC fight card also for a third sparring match. Ryo is back in training for it today. To anyone who isn't familiar with this, Ryo has already publicly stated that he knocked out Teofimo Lopez. And when someone confirmed him or tried to confirm this with him, he said, yeah, it's absolutely true, but I don't want to talk about it. And the reason why he said he doesn't want to talk about it anymore, because he knows he messed up. Guys, what happens in the gym stays in the gym, a lot like Vegas, right? Because sparring isn't the same. You could be working on certain things, and someone could actually be putting it on you a lot hotter than you had anticipated and catch you clean and catch you cold, right?
Yeah.
Teofimo could have been under the impression that he was just trying to get some work in, not facing someone who's trying to take his head off in sparring, right?
Yeah.
So he shouldn't be talking about that to the media. The media need to stop asking him about this. And you know what? If he wants some of that, then you know what? Talk to his advisor and see if you can work your way up the ranking system and get some of that. But otherwise, he shouldn't be discussing this. And to me, I don't even like talking about it. Because you know what? What happens in the gym stays in the gym. And you know what? It's easy if a reporter is there, right, and shooting footage. And this is why I never like shooting footage in gyms when they're sparring, because it's like there's a lot of bragging that goes on in the gym.
Yep.
A lot of people, if they get the better of you in sparring, they'll beat their chest and they'll brag about it, but it doesn't go any further than the gym. It stays within the boys' club, right? Like all these guys are friends that spar each other and that hang out and work together in the gym. And so Ryo, if you ask him personally, I'm sure he feels bad about it. I'm sure he feels bad about ever talking about it. I'm sure he feels bad about this ever leaking. And that's the code. That's what these guys adhere to. Everyone knows each other and everyone works together. This is a very small community. The boxing community is a very close-knit one. Going back to the Fury thing, this is one of the reasons why everyone is telling him you don't want to burn any more bridges up to this point. You've already burned bridges with the Vladimir Klitschko situation and how you treated that, and you were damn lucky that PBC and Deontay Wilder actually gave you another chance at championship glory. Do not burn this bridge again.
Hey, and Joseph, to add to the Ryo situation, I agree with you 100%. That's the golden rule that everybody know what happens in the gym, stay in the gym. Hey, but sometimes stuff get leaked out. Do I like him talking about that? Absolutely not. I'm with you 100% on that. But if Ryo keep winning, you know, and Teofimo's still right there, like this could possibly be a build-up for a future to be a big fight. So
maybe you know what? Maybe
I'm with
maybe
you 100%. What happens in the gym
look,
stays in the gym.
Top Rank already has plans for Teofimo Lopez. You know, despite their public riff over the past several months, Top Rank is all in with Teofimo Lopez, and they're really hoping that his pay-per-view does well on June 19th. They're really hoping it does. Is it June 19th or is it June 15th?
I think
June
it's June
15th, right?
19th. I think it's. I thought I heard
Oh,
the
okay.
19th.
Well, regardless, whenever it is in June, they're hoping it does well because they're hoping he picks up a lot of mainstream and casual fans as a result of it. That's going to benefit both him and Top Rank. But in my opinion, this is what's going to happen after this George Kambosos fight. If he can't get a big fight at 35, he's going to fight the winner. If it doesn't result in an immediate rematch, guys, we might see an immediate rematch. And that's another thing that pisses me off about Deontay Wilder in this entire mess. We've got a fight of the year candidate coming up on Saturday night. And what are we talking about? We're talking about this rubbish. Man, you know what? This pisses me off, dude. And you know what? And everyone, this is the biggest story in boxing. And what should be the biggest story in boxing right now? Jose Martinez versus Josh Taylor. This is a blue chip A+++ matchup. Man, this is a can't miss matchup. This is going to be a throwback fight like Diego Corrales, and it's coming almost on the eve. 19 years ago, Gatti versus Ward fought, right? Yeah. This should be another Gatti Ward at 140 pounds.
And I'm telling you, to add to that, like what you're saying about Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, I had the chance to cover Jose Ramirez when he fought Maurice Hooker down here.
He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. And one thing he told me when them guys was heckling him, Maurice Hooker, people was heckling him while he was doing this training workout. He told me, you can't play boxing. Then he went in there and put on a sensational performance against Maurice Hooker. This matchup that you're talking about, it is rated high, superb. This is a must watch. And like you said, we talking about this garbage and this coward, this crybaby in Deontay Wilder because he just lost one fight. But Joseph, you made an excellent point earlier when you said that Teofimo, speaking of Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, you said if he can't get a big fight at 135, he'll be looking that way. But let me ask you this real quick. What's a big fight for him at 135?
It depends. Oh, there are a lot of big fights you could make. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, a rematch with Vasyl Lomachenko. Those are all huge fights, right? Unfortunately, it's going to take a lot of politics. And it's obvious he doesn't want to go there again with Vasyl Lomachenko. Well, largely, and he can say what he wants because I know it has everything to do with the adjustment that Vasyl Lomachenko was making in the back half of the fight. If Vasyl Lomachenko starts out that way, it's a very different fight on the judges' scorecards.
And can I ask you a question about that? How is it that Vasyl Lomachenko don't get no rematch, but Deontay Wilder getting a rematch?
It's because one, there was no rematch clause, okay? So it wasn't contractually binding. And two, what Teofimo doesn't want any more of that. He can say what he wants like it was easy work. No, it wasn't easy work. There's no such thing as easy work with Vasyl Lomachenko. But I tell you what, he's got a tough assignment on his hands, dude. I'm really looking forward to seeing Vasyl Lomachenko back in the ring because this is a fight that he could lose. He's given away a lot of size, reach. This is a tough guy that he's going to be facing. Right? He's fighting Nakatani. That's right. This is a guy who's always in the best shape. He fought through a broken orbital bone to knock out Felix Verdejo. Right? This is a guy who always brings it and who's never been stopped. This is going to be a very, very tough assignment, right? Very tough assignment for Vasyl Lomachenko, and I'm looking forward to it. Credit to him for jumping back into the Lion's Den.
Yep.
So let's go back to another comment from our brother Mohammed. Thank you for sticking with us, brother. And he said, Fury's contract was down to 2 fights. Maybe that's why Arum subconsciously, no, there was no subconsciously about it. That's why he did it. Dismissed the arbitration so he could profit from both AJ and Fury's fights. And this is why, yes, and like I said, I understood why Arum did it, but he shouldn't have done it, right? I completely understand why Arum did it, because the second fight lost money. He still has yet to make any money from signing Tyson Fury. He's in the red still. It's cost him a lot of money. It's cost him millions up to this point. That's exactly why he wanted to move forward with AJ versus Fury, because it was a bona fide moneymaker, especially with that huge site fee, right? But once again, man, he has just shown poor judgment. He tried to make the Terrence Crawford Pacquiao fight in the Middle East. It fell through because, well, because of his old age and his lack of energy and his incompetence at this point, right? He needs to sit down, because that, from what I've been told, was supposed to be a slam dunk. That was already a deal that was in place. And how did he bungle that? The money was already supposed to be there from the benefactors of Dubai. The deal was already structured. How do you flub that? Yeah, in my opinion, it was probably because Bob Arum just doesn't have the energy he once had. It's time for him to retire. I'm truly, after this embarrassing episode, I am truly convinced of it. I love me some Bob. And you know what? He's put on some great events over the years, and he's cultivated some great fighters over the years. But just like Don King, it's time to sit in retirement. Enjoy retirement, Bob.
And great comment, Muhammad. My thing is, like, Bob Arum, you 90 years old. Like, it can't be about the money now till you can. I mean, I understand he's still trying to be profitable, but he's 90. You done seen all the money that you can see. Like, I just don't get this. I don't like this. It's incompetency. That's what I see, Joseph.
Yeah, it's impossible to ignore at this point. I always, like I said, leading up to this point, I always tried to give Bob the benefit of the doubt. But after this, I just can't any longer. Guys, you want a nice laugh, and we don't mean to laugh at your expense, JD. We want to thank you for joining us. But this comment is funny. Guys, and this just proved positive that Wilder fans aren't the only delusional ones in the world. JD, God bless you, brother. Thank you for joining us. But he says Heyman won the arbitration because he has that Illuminati power. Oh, my word. I tell you what, boxing fans, you gotta love them. Gotta love them. That's priceless, man. I love it. Oh, thank you so much for that, JD. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, big dog. Shout out to JD,
man. Illuminati power. God bless him. Oh, boy. Now, what are we going to talk about, man? How we don't want to put this in Saudi Arabia because it might fall off the flat earth? Is that it? Jeez. But I guess that's what's going to about do it. We've been on the air for almost an hour, guys. It's time for us to bid everyone an excellent evening. We'll be back on the air on Thursday, guys, to talk about the real important topic this week, and that's Ramirez versus Taylor. Correa and I are going to be giving everyone our big pre-fight breakdown. We'll also be on the air with editor Lee Cleveland on Friday after the weigh-in. So, guys, buckle up. We've only, in the immortal words of Karen Carpenter, we've only just begun. Guys, we're going to be getting to it this week. This is going to be a very busy week. This is fight week, damn it. This is fight week, damn it. We shouldn't be talking about any of this nonsense. Come on, guys. Get up for this amazing unification bout at 140. All 4 belts are on the line. Both fighters are undefeated in their prime. And guys, if you haven't watched Blood, Sweat, and Tears yet on ESPN, go do it now. It really showcases the character of both gentlemen, both Josh Taylor. And this is what's so perplexing about this. This fight, guys, it's not just both guys with ability, both guys fighting in their prime. but you see the character of both guys. It's hard not to like both fighters involved. Unfortunately, someone's got to lose and someone's got to win. But I tell you what, it's such as boxing. But this matchup has everything that we've come to love about the sport, guys. So quit pondering on this nonsense. This is the last we're going to talk about it for a while. We're going to be focusing on the great matchups this week as well as next week. Devin Haney versus Jorge Linares, guys. That's coming up as well.
Oh, I'm ready for
So
that.
guys,
Oh, yes,
get
sir.
up for the fights and quit talking about this nonsense. And guys, everyone have a great evening. Corey, would you like to give any one of our listeners your parting shots this evening?
Oh man, I just want to shout out to everybody on here, man. War Week Radio, man. Y'all make sure y'all keep tuning in. Punch that bell notification. Like, comment, subscribe. Shout out to the playback gang who gonna come back and catch the playback. Y'all leave y'all thoughts. Tell us what y'all thought about the entire episode. I want everybody to make sure y'all do this for sure. Go to fightsaga.com and make sure y'all get all the latest boxing news. There's no other website like it. Shout out to Joseph Heron. Shout out to Lee Cleveland. And shout out to everybody here from the 2142 across the pond.
Corey, it's always a pleasure, brother. Thank you for sharing the air with me this evening. And guys, please go subscribe to War Week Radio Network if you already haven't, because I need your subscription numbers. I need to get past that 1,000 mark, or YouTube isn't going to pay me for this. So guys, please subscribe, help us out, contribute to War Week Radio Network. Guys, on behalf of Corey Bradshaw, I'm Joseph Heron. You've been listening to the War Week Radio Network. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.